Thank you so much for joining us. So this is my second year working with BBE on the Christmas crowdfunder campaign. We've actually done it. This is actually the third year we've been running it. We've had some really good successes over the last couple of years. So I'm really excited to be able to give you some, hopefully, some good tips and advice today on how to create a great crowdfunder page. So I thought I'd just start with a quick slide about what the kind of differences between crowdfunding and other types of digital fundraising. And I think what crowdfunder does really well is, well, it gathers a big group of people together and creates a momentum behind your fundraising activity. But also it is a rewards-based fundraising program. So what you're actually able to do is offer your supporters or potential supporters something in return for a donation. So, you know, most fundraising campaigns, traditional fundraising campaigns, you're asking for donations. Can you give me £10 so that we can do X? What we offer on Crowdfunder is a way for you to say, if you give me £10, I'll give you something in return. It means you're more likely to get new supporters. So obviously, hopefully your existing supporters will give you donations anyway. They don't necessarily need to be persuaded. But if you've got lapsed supporters or you want to go out to a new audience, offering them something in return, it doesn't have to be of high value, will hopefully get you that donation in, but also we find that it increases the average value of a donation. So on the Crowdfunder platform, projects that are just straightforward asking for donations, average donation is about £18. If you offer a reward, and we can talk about that in a minute, it's anywhere between £30 and £50 is your average donation. So it does go up. People are more likely to give you a bit extra, and obviously appreciating that we're in, you know, challenging times at the moment, and people don't have a lot of spare cash. So if you can give them something in return, they're more likely to part with that hard-earned money. And the other good point is you can offer lots of different price points. So you know, small rewards for a small amount of money, up to something big and exciting and special for a much larger donation. And that also means you're probably more likely to get maybe a business supporting you, or you know, more sort of high value members of the community who might want to support you. So that was just a little preamble about sort of what makes crowdfunding a bit different. But the focus of this session is to talk about what makes a really good crowdfunding page. Now, we did a webinar a few weeks ago on sort of an intro to Crowdfunder. So if you haven't watched that already, it was recorded. So suggest you have a quick whiz through that as well, because that will maybe give you a little bit more context as to how crowdfunding works. But today I will be focusing very much on how to create a good project page. And as I said, if you want to jump in and ask questions, please do. So we sort of break down crowdfunding into three separate stages. So 3 steps to success: planning, creating, and running your project. So the creating bit is the bit we're going to talk about today. The planning is also very important. It is not a case that if you build it, they will come on Crowdfunder. People won't come unless you tell them about it, unless you've planned it. So the planning bit and the running bit is as important as creating your page, because you need to be able to get people to your page and give them something exciting to look at, and give them a really good reason to support you. So just wanted to sort of break that down for you into those 3 stages. The other good thing about Crowdfunder, the other thing we offer on the crowdfunding platform, is loads and loads of support and advice in addition to what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. So we've got these slides will be circulated. Obviously, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to click on these links when you get the slides. So there's a knowledge hub on Crowdfunder, which has got loads of tips, blogs, articles, videos, all sorts of pre-recorded webinars that you can engage with as well. So if there's anything I don't cover tonight that you want to know more about, or your team want to get refreshed, then you can also use that information as well on the crowdfunding page. So thinking about your page itself, when you go onto Crowdfunder, you'll be asked to create an account, and then that's where you go from there in order to set up your fundraising campaign. We call them projects. So, but it's a campaign, it's an appeal, it's a fundraising page. We call it a project. That's the sort of crowdfunder lingo. And there's sort of 4 key things you need to think about when creating a project page. So the first thing is making sure it looks good visually. I do see a lot of pages where it's one big stream of consciousness, lots of words, it's quite impenetrable. So if you can get lots of good visuals, that will really help you. And as obviously what you do, you know, being a band, you must be creating photos and videos all the time. So include shots of your band members playing live instruments, you know, whatever it is that's going to kind of set that scene. And if you're fundraising or crowdfunding for a very specific project. So I know we've got a band already who are wanting to redecorate and do their band practice room, you know, include before and you know, before pictures and potential after pictures, the sort of stuff that's going to get people really engaged with you. Hi Irma, thanks for joining us. We've started already, but you know, please feel free to ask questions as we go along. So yeah, and also, you know, like any other fundraising campaign, people respond well to pictures of people. So lots of pictures of your band and smiling faces, looking happy, and it makes it just, you know, sort of brings it to life in a way that words on the page on its own aren't going to do. What I mean by repurpose is if you have other campaigns running and you're using a particular logo or a particular image, use it across your crowdfunding page too. So it kind of, you know, it becomes a sort of more holistic campaign, so that people go on your social sites, they might see the same image on your crowdfunder page, then they'll be able to make that link, they'll know it's you then. So that's kind of another tip. Infographics, they're the sort of little data charts that you can use to maybe get across some complicated information, might not be so relevant to the sort of projects you're running, but we do have projects that use them if they're sort of more complex. You know, if they want to get across lots of stats for you, it might be, well, you know, we had this, you know, many members before COVID, and now we've only got this many and we're trying to recruit. It could be something like that, or breakdown of, you know, membership or the local community. So it's another visual aid to make your page a little bit more interesting than a standard fundraising page. When you go to create your page on Crowdfunder, it's very much like editing a Word document. So if you're used to sort of using Word on a computer, it's kind of the same. So you can bold, you can italicize, you can use different header options, you can put imagery into the text. So you can write a paragraph, then you can put an image in, then you can write another paragraph. So it's a bit like editing a Word document. So there's no technical ability needed. It's just pretend you're in Word. And then, so what we then advise is, because you have this functionality, is use things like headings to break your text up. So, you know, why are we crowdfunding? More about our band. This is what we're going to achieve. Maybe some key stats. You can bullet point, you can vary the text size. So that it sort of, again, provides a little bit of structure, a little bit of interest on your page. And it's also really good on if you're looking at your page from a mobile phone, so where it's quite small, if you've got headers to break up the text, it helps people when they're scrolling. So again, that's another good reason to use sort of headings to break things up. And then finally, testimonials. So where you've got either people who've supported you before, or quotes from your band members, or quotes from people in the community, make sure you have that sort of third party interest on your page as well, because obviously you know about your band, you know how important it is to you, but having that sort of third party validation as well, you know, whether it's somebody who's been to one of your concerts or the Lord Mayor or whoever it might be, saying, you know, this is why I'm supporting this band because it's really important to our community, or it's really important to my daughter because she gets so much out of it, or whatever it might be. It could be a parent, could be a teacher. Use those sort of third parties to, again, draw interest and provide a little bit more sort of credibility to your page. It's not just you talking about yourself, other people are doing the same. So sort of 4 tips to make your page kind of look quite, professional and attractive to people coming to have a look at the page. What I would also say about imagery is when you appear on the crowdfunder page, if you haven't already gone and have a look at it, you will appear next to all the different brass band projects. So it's important you kind of use a nice image to get started. So again, like I said, use a photo of your band or a photo of a member, because you'll stand out from that grid then. As you can see on the right hand side of this screen, a project that used quite a dull image didn't perform very well. Nobody wanted to engage with that. What they were trying to do was really important, but they didn't sort of quite get the photography right. And as I said, obviously, you'll have access to great images from your concerts, from performances you've done, rehearsals, etc. So use those as much as you can, and really make your sort of page stand out. So this is an example of a page from last year, and what they've done is they've taken a photo and then they've overlaid it with the logo and a testimonial from the town councillor, and so they've just sort of made it look sort of kind of like professionally designed. You don't need to have a professional designer to do this for you. We use a website called Canva. If you've never used Canva before, it's really easy. You can upload a photo and then you can put little text over the top of it and you can add your logo. So it kind of makes it look like, oh, this is, page that's been done really professionally. So use all of these. It's free as well, free tools, definitely worth investing a little bit of time. And as I'm going to come on to, share the load. It doesn't need to be all done by you. Use your band members, use the people around you to help you create this great page, either finding images for you or going onto Canva and creating stuff like this. If you've got young members of the team, use them, then you don't have to learn how to do it. So that, even though it's very easy. So that's what I would encourage you to do as well. And again, it just makes the page look a little bit more interesting. Video is another important thing. Again, you will have probably lots of access to lots of video content from performances and rehearsals and awards and conferences and all the rest of it. So if you have got a video, use it. You can, if it's on YouTube, you can just copy and paste the YouTube link, put it in your page, and it'll magically appear. We say keep it sort of relatively short, 2 to 3 minutes. Get somebody to stand and present, so you've got the face of your band, somebody who's confident, who can present your case to potential supporter, but also prepare it in advance. Even the most confident and experienced people need scripts, so don't just sort of point a camera at somebody and go, oh, talk about crowdfunding, because the chances are they'll get nervous and and all the rest of it. So if you've got a script that you can just outline, this is who we are, this is why we're doing it, this is what we hope to achieve, that will help your presenter. There's a video here. This is actually 13 minutes long, but it's so compelling. This is a guy who's basically trying to stop the pollution in Lake Windermere. But if you can, this is what you see the minute you go on their crowdfunding page. This very powerful message and this image of him. So something like that, whether it's somebody with one of your instruments or whatever it might be, that sort of powerful image is going to make people stop and want to watch that video. So again, one thing that I've got loads of in this presentation is examples of people who are doing it and doing it well. So you don't need to worry about remembering all this stuff. There's lots of examples of people doing it well, so you can go and get inspired. And as I said, use your team, get them to watch the interesting videos, and then hopefully some people will feel creative and want to help you. Again, telling the story is really important. So obviously we've talked a lot about visuals, imagery, how your page looks, video, etc. But obviously it's really important to tell that story about who you are, why you're doing crowdfunding, why it's important to you, where are you doing this, talk about your local community, why it's important for the community to have this band. If you've got a specific deadline in mind, some of you might be doing general fundraising, some of you might be fundraising for a specific either event or a building project or something you've got a deadline for. So make sure you cover these 5 W's and the H, how, and that kind of telling that story rather than, and it's worth sort of planning it out a little bit before you start writing on the page. So just trying to tell that story so that your supporters will come in and want to engage and think, oh, what a great story this band are telling. I have to support them. And then there's some other, little tips in terms of using plain language, being honest, having a personality. You're all performers, so I'm sure that'll sort of come quite naturally to you. But again, it's kind of like thinking about what messages are you trying to get across that's going to make that person who's looking at your page give you money, because that's at the end of the day what you want them to do. So use these tips to help you think about the story you're trying to tell. The more passionate you can be, the more emotional you can be, the better. I mean, obviously you might be fundraising for a very positive reason. We want to get more juniors in, or we want to, like last year, somebody was raising money for a tuba. They're very expensive, but they could tell that good story about why it's important, and we're successful. So again, it sort of comes back down to that, the thing I said at the beginning about planning. Obviously we're talking about creating your page, but you kind of need to do that planning bit first before you sort of sit down and start getting your page ready. The more planning you do, the more thinking about the story, the better and more successful your page will be. Sounds like a lot of work, but it's worth it, because potentially this could mean the difference between £100 and thousands of pounds for you. So it's kind of worth sitting down with your band members and really sort of thinking about what this story is going to be and how you're going to attract donors. So again, we've got some more tips here about we've got project description. That's what it says when you log in. But basically what we're saying is tell your story. So, key points, why are you doing this? What are you trying to achieve? What are you going to spend the money on? What difference is it going to make to you as a band? So, we're here at the moment. If we raise this money, we can do this. We can achieve this. We'll be over here. We'll be able to do X. We'll be able to send, band members to this conference. We'll be able to put on a road show, whatever it might. We'll be able to fix our leaking roof, whatever it might be, that thing that's going to, tug at the heartstrings. And that will help people engage. One thing that we see charities do really well, which you'll have no doubt seen in any fundraising appeal, is they outline how much to donate, they outline price points. So £10 donation will enable us to do this. £20 donation will let us do this, £100 donation. So you can think about that as well. So, £10 will buy us a piece of sheet music, £100 will buy us a couple of new music stands, or whatever it might be. So again, your supporters can go, well, with this £100, I know that there's a physical thing that I'm going to be able to help this band do. So it's worth sort of brainstorming that with the team and thinking about what that might mean for you as a band. And then we also talked about at the beginning about rewards. So again, worth having a look at what other bands did last year, because some of them were really creative ideas. They didn't cost them anything. It was cost the time and the effort was the cost. So, you're asking somebody for a £10 donation. What are they going to get in return? You'll get a pen and a mug, for example. But if you give us £50, you'll get 2 tickets to our next concert. If you give us £100, you'll get 2 tickets to our next conference, and the restaurant next door to the venue will give you a 2-course meal. Give us £500 and we'll come and play on your driveway at Christmas. So, things like that, you can explore lots of different ideas on the sort of rewards you can give people. And again, as I said at the beginning, the different rewards will mean that people are more likely to give you on average a higher donation. So it's sort of worth thinking about. And again, I've got plenty of examples of where projects, either bands or other people, have really thought about the different rewards that they could offer in order to entice people in and get them to part with their donation. So you're lucky in a sense, because you have this at your fingertips. You have people and instruments and venues, so you can get people to a special concert, you can take the band to other venues. That's great. But also I would think wider than just your band. Think about what your local community could potentially offer you. So like I said, if you've got a local restaurant who could donate a meal before your next concert to somebody, or a local coffee shop could donate something, or is there a business who can provide whatever it might be. Could be vouchers for something. It doesn't necessarily need to be related to the band. So sort of think as wide as you can about who in your community might want to support you. It could be it could be a local printer, it could be, as I said, local venue, could be lots of different things. So it's worth, again, exploring that with your team. I'm sure most people have day jobs, so what can their companies provide? Could they provide you with a reward? Could they give you a £100 donation? So again, it's worth thinking about that. So again, I'm not going to read all this out, but you can obviously read it at your leisure, and make it, the whole point is to make your project as exciting as possible. And I've talked a lot about this. Don't feel that you have to do all the work. You've got a big, hopefully a large number of people around you, your fellow band members. So use,
sorry
yes,
to interrupt,
but
you have met brass band committees and things like that before, haven't you?
Well,
just
yes.
checking.
I'm just focusing on the positive.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Focusing on the positives, what it's all about. Well, I'm hoping they're going to help you, and if not, I feel very sad. But even if the committee won't help, use your members, use the young people in your band, to create video content. Everybody's got a phone, doesn't need to be expensive, you don't need to pay anybody. Take some video of your next rehearsal. Do an outtakes. I saw, was it last year or the year before, one of the bands did an outtakes video. It was really, really funny. So again, it doesn't need to be professional slick, it just needs personality and humor and a bit of emotion. So as I said, whether or not your committee is going to help you, don't feel you need to do it all by yourself. Get everybody involved, and because people have different ideas and different thoughts about it. So use the crowd. So we're talking about attracting a crowd to your page, but use that crowd that you've got behind you. Maybe it might be your current supporters, it might be friends and family. Who do you know who can shoot something, use Canva, give you a reward? Again, it all sort of thinking about your big network of people who can support you. And if they don't want to support you with helping you create your page, then at least get them to give you some money. So that's where you go out, and that will be the subject of our next webinar, which will be all about how you promote your page once you've made it look all beautiful. So that's what this section is all about: getting people to help you and creating a great page. And so here we get on to some examples. I've tried to pull out some quite local community-based projects, because it's not all about massive projects with huge amounts of, huge teams behind them and lots of, resources. Some of these are really local projects who just happened to hit on a really good story. They, told a really good narrative. They made their page look great. So these have all got links in, so you can go and see how they managed to do it. Some of them are, so like this first one, Book Bugs and Dragon Tales, is a bookshop in Norwich. They were faced with closure. They've done, they're quite community, they're quite a focus of the community. So they've really used and leveraged their community to come behind them and secure a future for the bookshop. So it's, they had a target of 15,000, they've raised 22,000. Again, it's a great, what they've done is a great story, and they had lots of interesting visuals. Some of the other projects have made lots of money or got lots of donations in from their supporters, but they've also taken advantage of the matching we've got available. So match funding, that is where we have managed to secure pots of money from corporate partners who will match donations. Now we've got a few less. If you did crowdfunding last year, or if you know about crowdfunding, some of the projects were able to get, you know, £5,000, £10,000 worth of matching. This year, due to, you know, kind of circumstances, a lot of the match funding we've got is sort of based around either environmental projects or cost of living. If you can sort of show how your band is sort of doing something around that theme. So for example, if you want to fundraise or crowdfund to put in say a new boiler in your band room because it's freezing in there. So we did a band, Third Carrick did this last year really successfully. You're more likely to get match funding. So we've got Marks and Spencer's are doing an energy match fund. So that's for anybody who's trying to do anything like new heating, lighting, anything that's kind of going to be little bit more green energy options. And then we've also got Aviva, who are fundraising for disadvantaged communities, anybody struggling with the cost of living. So again, if you're a band who are working hard in the local community, maybe working with disadvantaged communities, again, use that in your narrative to help you secure that extra funding, because it's free money. So it's worth really thinking about how you can tailor your page to hopefully get some of that match funding. I've explained quite a lot more about match funding in the previous webinar. So if you want to go and rewatch that, that will explain a little bit more about various funds and how you attract them and get hold of some of that funding. So I won't go into too much detail, but it's all on the Crowdfunder site. So yeah, so it's worth having a look at these 5 projects, seeing what they're doing really well. Again, they've got rewards, they're telling a good story, they've got good imagery, they've got good video, they're really selling, you know, lots of emotion about why they're doing it. So, you know, again, worth using other people's projects, don't just listen to me, use those real life examples of people who are doing great work in their local community and use it to inspire you. So this is what it'll look like when you go into Crowdfunder. So it kind of looks like a form to fill in, and you just follow the steps. So you've got a sort of basics, you know, where you fill in the basics of who you are, what you do, you know, your Facebook page, etc. And then you'll work along the top, work across those tabs at the top, and that will tell you, you know, give you all of the instructions on what you need to do. And if you get stuck, you'll see my colleague here, Sammy. She's on every page with, you know, helpful little 1-minute videos, just giving you a few pointers as well. So, you know, if you get stuck, that is there for you. As Jess said, you know, you can also direct questions to me. We also have live chat on the Crowdfunder site. So again, if you're in the middle of this and the video from Sammy hasn't answered your question, you can you can chat to somebody and they'll be able to point you in the right direction as well. So if you do get stuck, but it should be relatively straightforward. So put in your band details. Number 2, project page. That's where you get really creative, tell your story, upload your imagery. Extra funding, so that's the match funding bits. That's where you apply for any extra funding we might have available. Put your target in. So, you know, how much are you trying to raise? Is it £2,000, £4,000? Put that in. Regular donations, we also you can also ask supporters to sign up to give you money on a monthly basis. So that might be something you want to think about as well. Rewards, that's where you put in, you know, for £10 you'll get X, and for £100 you'll get Y. Financials is where you put in your bank details so we can pass the money on to you. So that's the most important thing. Make sure you've got that available. And then you sort of submit and it goes live. It's relatively straightforward, but as I said, lots and lots of support available to you. You know, the videos, the live chat, me, knowledge center, it's all there. So we're trying to make it as painless as possible, whilst, you know, appreciating that there is a little bit of work that needs to go into this as well. So yeah, so again, worth looking at the 2, well, we had 30 projects last year. These are the 2 that did really well. Again, you can see, you know, the Big Tube repeal, they had match funding, they really told their story, they got really creative with it. Again, Swinton's smashed their targets too. So again, use your fellow bands members for inspiration, as well as other projects that are available on Crowdfunder, and you will be successful. So to summarize, a little summary, think about your page layout, use imagery and video, tell your story clearly, get the team to help you, whether or not it's your committee or your band members or your friends and family. And also be very clear about your targets. So, you know, you want to, so we talk about stretch targets a bit on Crowdfunder. So that's what happens if you actually overachieve on your initial target. So you might put in, as a bare minimum, we want to raise £2,000. If we get more than that, our stretch target will be £4,000. And that will enable us to do a whole load more stuff. So it's worth thinking about that. And again, when you go and create your page, all that will be explained to you about how you do it and what it's there for. So, you know, just a little summary there. I'm nearly finished. Again, all the links to all of the support that you need, all of our videos. Crowdfunder also do other webinars, so you don't just need to rely on the ones I'm doing. There are other they do sort of live and learn, sort of little lunchtime sessions. If you've got half an hour, you can pop in and find out, and you can ask questions as well. So again, it's worth having a look at that. One thing I mentioned on my last webinar, but I'll mention again because it's really useful for projects, especially like yours, where you're out in the community. One other thing you can do once your project page has gone live is you can download a QR code from your Crowdfunder account. A QR code is one of those little black and white fuzzy square things, and when you hover over it with a mobile phone, it brings up your page. So if you're playing live, what you can do is have your QR codes printed on tickets, programs, flyers, you know, put them on the conductor stand, put them on your music stands, and then people can donate to you there and then through your Crowdfunder page via their mobile phone. They don't need to have cash. And again, that's a really good kind of, it gives people, it's a little bit exciting, a little bit new. They can pay by card or Apple Pay. It's really easy. But it's a sort of a good way of getting, you know, you don't have to just rely on digital online channels to get crowdfunding. You can, you know, use that QR code for printed material as well. So we're sort of making sure that the sort of offline donation can also happen. And yes, it's a worth thinking about that. I do mention it on the previous webinar, so worth having a look. But as I said, you're out there face to face. You want to be able to get people to donate to you rather than just having cash in a hat or in a case. You can also use the QR code to get people to donate to you via their phones, and this is all free, so worth having a look. So think about what's next. The overall sort of Christmas campaign will launch on the 23rd of November and we'll run it for 4 weeks. That means your project page will be live. We will promote the brass bands hub that we've got. So if you missed that at the beginning, it's crowdfunder.co.uk/brass bands. That will take you to the dedicated page. You will see your when we go live on the 23rd, that's where your project will be, and you'll be able to direct people to your project from then on. Do watch the previous webinar if what I've said to you doesn't make sense or you need a bit more context. You know, start thinking about your page because you've got a few weeks. So, you know, find people, willing volunteers to recruit to help you. And I will be running another webinar on the 9th of November, which will be the sort of, are you ready? How to promote your page once it goes live. So we'll be talking a little bit more around how to get in front of the right people, how to recruit new supporters, using social media, using email. I'll probably talk about QR codes again because they're really popular. And then in the meantime, use the Crowdfunder platform to for inspiration and creativity, and see what other people are doing that is making them successful. The projects that aren't successful are people who just think they can put a page up, not really explain what they're doing, and hope that people will donate to them. You know, it does take a little bit of work, but the more effort you put in, the more money you're going to make, hopefully, at the end of the day. So it's worth doing it. And as I said, these slides will be available. You can click on all the links. You can go and have a look in your own time. And if you need anything, that's my email address. My colleague Thea, she's also one of our crowdfunding experts too. Do follow Crowdfunder as well on social, because they're always sharing great projects. So again, really good for inspiration. Don't forget to go on the Knowledge Hub, but also you can speak to Jess too, and she can pass on any queries that you might have as well. So thank you very much. I've sort of rattled through that, but I didn't want to, it is the evening and it's dark outside. So I'm going to open up to any questions you might have.
Caroline, is the date set in stone? The end date for the projects, the 14th of December. The only reason I'm asking is in previous years it's tended to go later in December, and one of the rewards that we've run has been Carols on Your Street.
Yes.
And obviously people are more keen to try and book you nearer to Christmas. So that was the only query.
Jess, over to you, because I think you sort of set the dates up. So
yeah, so no, you can absolutely carry on crowdfunding after that date. That's just our official period of, that's when BBE will be really pushing the projects. Just because obviously we go on Christmas leave quite soon after that. So no, there's no reason that you can't be crowdfunding after that. I know lots of bands do carry on right until the end of December, really. So yeah, that's absolutely fine to carry on crowdfunding after that date.
When you set your project page up,
you just choose the end date.
You choose the end date yourself. Yes. So I mean, obviously, you having done this before, you know that. But for everybody else's benefit, you choose your start date and your end date. As Jess said, that's the period where brass bands and also Crowdfunder will be really heavily promoting it. But yes, you can fundraise all the way through Christmas. If you've got Christmas Eve, if you're doing midnight mass or whatever it might be, yeah, keep going.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Julie. It's good to see you again. Do you have any tips for your fellow band members? Because you've obviously done this before successfully.
I think the key is to get everybody involved. And the first year we'd got no experience whatsoever of crowdfunding, so it did seem a little strange to try and do it. I think people kind of thought, oh, we have to chuck the money in. The second year, I think people got the idea of how it worked more. The only thing I would suggest for a tip is, if people are looking to do the Carols on Your Street in their local area, that they're very specific about what they do. And the way we've done it is we've always advertised it as a set date, a set time, in a radius around our local village in Sheffield. And so people have purchased that set date, set time, rather than saying, subject to availability or anything like that. Yeah. And we've literally put on days where we know we can turn a small group out. So I think it's just an easier way of organising that if you do want to go down that road.
That's a great tip. Yeah,
that's the only tip I'd give.
No, because I know I've heard from either, I don't know if it was your band or another band who was sort of saying, tell us when you want us to turn up, and then it just ended up being a complete diary nightmare. So yeah, be specific, give them a specific date and said we'll be doing this on your street, and then that'd be great.
But we were kind of wary of that because we thought somebody's going to say Christmas morning.
Yeah.
And we're not a band that goes out Christmas morning, so we wanted to avoid that.
It'll be the conductor.
So yeah, that's the only tip I'd give.
Right, brilliant. Thank you, Julie.
No worries.
If So, quick question: if we had, we got a number of little projects that we're trying to do, but this definitely sounds like you have to concentrate on one.
Yes.
Else the message gets confused. So concentrate on one.
I would concentrate on one, and then you could potentially use that stretch target to say, you know, for our first, the most important thing we need to achieve is this, and we need X amount of money. But if we get more than this, and we get another £1,000, we can do this other thing with it. So you can use your stretch target as, it doesn't need to be one. You can put multiple stretch targets in. People who are really successful at this do extend it, because then they can say, right, now we can buy more uniforms. Now we can buy another tuber. Now we can do this. So, that's what the sort of stretch target's there for. So I would try and focus on the priority thing that you want to achieve, just so, as you said, the message doesn't get confused. And it makes it a lot easier for you then when you're setting up your page, because you can have, the right image for this specific project, tell the story around this specific project, rather than trying to do lots of different things, because then as you said, it gets a bit messy.
Cool.